Earlier today, I spoke with Christina Goldstein. She's a New York Times correspondent inside Afghanistan, based there since the beginning of last month. I asked her if her reporting offers any hope that the country's leaders or security forces will be able to slow the takeover.
What we've seen since May is the Taliban sweeping through rural areas, scooping up around half of the country's 400-odd districts. What we've seen in the last couple of weeks is them really besieging cities as well. And on Friday, the first city fell to the Taliban. Since then, we've seen, like a domino effect, 9 other provincial capitals in rural areas falling under Taliban control. Right now, we're waiting to see whether the government will be able to regroup its forces and start trying to retake any of those city centers and also try to hold other cities that the Taliban have also attacked. But we haven't seen any of that happening so far, which has really caused, extreme panic here in Kabul among folks who are worried that the government will not be able to either retake those cities, defend others that are coming under siege, or even defend the capital, Kabul, in the coming weeks as well.
Defending Kabul is the key for the United States to have some sort of foothold there and for a place of safety for people who are fleeing outside the ring that is Kabul and the other big cities. From your reporting, is there a sense for whether Kabul, the capital, can hold?
I mean, that's kind of the big question right now. It looks very likely that the Taliban will take 2 southern cities in the next couple of days or weeks. The north is also now almost completely under Taliban control. And once the Taliban has both the north and the south, it is very likely that they will begin launching attacks in the capital, Kabul, as well.
We know special forces there, which are stronger and better trained, if you to believe the United States authorities, to protect Kabul, and hopefully they'll be able to do that. But in the meantime, I'm sure there are a lot of people who don't understand the amount of control and power that the Taliban have. Could you give us an idea of what that looks like on the ground?
What we're hearing, especially as the fighting moves further into city centers, are scenes of just, devastating urban combat. I spoke with people who came from Kunduz, a major northern city that just fell to the Taliban, one of whom was sitting in his home as fighting was going on all around him for the last couple of weeks. When a mortar landed, he was hit with shrapnel. He brought his entire family into his rickshaw because he was a rickshaw driver, and they drove to the hospital as clashes between government forces and Taliban were happening, in streets all around them. In rural areas where we've seen the Taliban also, kind of taking rural areas in the last couple of months, we've also been hearing tales of just intense brutality. Farmers who have fled their villages when the Taliban first attacked and came back to find the bodies of their neighbors strewn across the street, who were either caught in the crossfire or, it seems, targeted and killed by the Taliban. I spoke with one father who was trying to flee a rural district that had just come under Taliban control. He was stopped at a checkpoint by Taliban fighters who pulled out his 2 sons because they didn't have identity cards, and the Taliban thought they might have been security forces trying to flee. By the time the father went home to get their ID cards, brought them back to the checkpoints, his 2 sons had been shot and killed by Taliban fighters. That's the kind of scenes of brutality that we're hearing from people who are fleeing these areas. In the meantime, we've talked to thousands of people who are desperately trying to leave. And they pretty much haven't been able to because the passport office is overwhelmed, visa agencies are overwhelmed, and so are embassies. So many are feeling very stranded here and abandoned by the international community.
And sadly, no signs that it might improve. That was Christina Goldstein reporting from Afghanistan.